Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to round 18 of Season 1 2024 of Endurance for Amateurs, with just 3 more races to go. Tonight is another possibly wet race, some point in the midway. We'll try to keep up to date with it as we can. Here at Interlagos, and this race is brought to you by Ninja Botanicals and AlienAwards.net. Coming up is a 90-minute race with GTD and GTP class cars. Last week saw a duel last the whole race between pole sitter Paul Skip and eventual victor Jay Smart, winning by 7 seconds. Nick Paletti took third spot, just another 5 seconds back. With all 3 drivers earning the same 4 bonus points from last week, Skip slightly increases his lead to 2 on Nick Terrell and 5 on Nick Paletti. GTDA saw another zero-incident masterclass victory by Ken Huber, with Jeff McDonald earning a season-best 2nd place and a 6th podium for Sheldon Rosenbaum behind, in a race that was well dominated by the A-class drivers. Huber's now at 683 points, 138 ahead of Tyler Langenberg, safely in 2nd, but a gap of just 9 points separates Josh Doty and Travis Rowe for 3rd. GTDB saw a hectic roller coaster race with James Foreman weathering his own personal storms, both literal and metaphorical, to earn victory, matching the totals of Nathan Westland and Jack Lucas at 4, ahead of Zach Nurnberger with his 5th podium on the season and Jack Lucas with his 10th. James Foreman remains 1st in class and 2nd overall, 29 points ahead of Jack Lucas, who has a mere 6-point advantage on 2nd place over Jesse Coffey. We have a difficult racetrack here today, and one that is going to bring some questionable weather. Have some names we haven't seen in a little bit as well. Up there at the top, fastest in practice was Jay Smart in the GTPs, and the GT3s fastest was Ken Huber at the very end, but actually Aaron Claybaugh fastest through the majority of that section. So I guess that 1 week off in the commentator's booth really gave him that edge. For today will be a dry qualifying as opposed to what we kind of had last week. The rain may come at the mid part of this race, but this is a really tough circuit. All those interior corners, really tough to get exactly right, and I've seen a lot of really good drivers making, what seemed like elementary mistakes in practice. It's just so difficult through some of these corners. Jay Smart is going to cross the line with 3 purples already under his name. Paul Skip's got a purple in that 2nd sector, but it does look like Jay Smart's going to have the best first lap for these GTP class cars. One of only 2 drivers in that Acura today, Nick Terrell, also in the Acura. All the other drivers in the Porsche, 8/10 up on Paul Skip. That is a big advantage to start with. Ken Huber right now trying to set himself on pole to start. He's got 3 purples through the start of this lap. Nick Paletti moves himself into 2nd there as well. Again, Jay Smart effectively out of the championship. So really, as far as championship storylines, we really need to see what happens with Paletti, Skip, and Terrell, and safety points are going to be absolutely paramount. Again, like mentioned at the top, they all matched each other with 4 points in that race last week, so no advantage gained either way. 3 BMWs already showing up there in the top 4 behind Ken Huber, with Aaron Claybaugh again showing some pace after his strong qualifying or strong practice times to qualify here so far in 2nd. He had taken 1 week off, was getting up to speed with his new equipment. Looks like working well for him here today, and it does look like the BMW's working well for him as well. Again, a season that has had so much variety. In the GTD A class, we've had it mostly won by Ken Huber, of course, but in the B class, we've had 4 wins by the Mercedes, 4 by the Ferrari, 3 by the BMW, 3 by the Porsche, 2 by the Audi, and 1 by the Lamborghini. So, whole mix of car choices that we have out here on the track right now. A lot of car choices we've seen throughout the season. Paul Skip looking to improve his time. He's got a couple purples, and he crossed the line only a 10th off. Really brought the fight a lot closer to Smart, but wasn't able to claim that 1st place spot, but does get ahead of Nicholas Paletti, which is key. And we'll see if Nick Terrell's even able to get out in time for qualifying. I know he joined remotely, so another race where we may see him start from last place and have to work his way up. Not the optimal scenario. It's best he can do. Ken Huber had 3 purples in that first lap. He's got 2 purples this time. 3rd and 4th sector should be an improvement on the overall lap time. It is, and that was important because Mauricio Prada hopped in right at the exact same time to almost claim pole, and Aaron Claybaugh improving as well. So kind of a rare scenario to see all these drivers improving on their 2nd lap. Might be because it's slightly shorter laps than we've had lately. Terry Kiger Jr. there into 2nd overall. We've generally seen the fastest laps be the 1st, and then the tires can't really hold on, but they are doing so here today, which is good news for drivers trying to extend a stint potentially through those tires as well. But imagine that the potential rain coming in does cool down the track and help with the tire life in that respect. It's going to be at least pretty cloudy and overcast for a lot of the race. There's some really important sections of this track here now. Pinerino into Bico de Pato. He's going to take that right, down around the hairpin now through Mergulho. And I've seen a lot of incidents there in practice. Haven't seen too many here in qualifying so far. Jay Smart with 3 purples. And I guess maybe a time that was not legal or maybe exactly the same. I think he actually equaled his time to 1,000th there with a couple slow sectors but 3 fast ones. So 121.648 for Jay Smart, and not seeing any down there right now. They're going to take his spot. James Foreman looks to make an improvement. He's currently in 7th. He crosses the line, moves all the way up to 5th, just 0.3 off. I mean, this is not a big gap that Ken Huber has on the rest of the field. It's not rare to see him up at the front, but only a couple tenths really separating these top 5 right now. Tyler Langenberg looks like he's going to be coming in for an improvement. 13th right now, 1.6 seconds back. Moves up to 1.1 seconds back into 10th place. It's a good move there. Right behind Andrew McMurray, a name haven't seen in a little bit. We also have Tony Watson in this race. Doesn't have a time on the board yet. He's not currently out on track. Hopefully we do see him take the start. Sean Adkins, again, returning in that Audi, just like Tyler Langenberg here. I think the only 2 drivers using the Audi in today's race. And they are, yes, they are the only 2. So we'll see how that works for them. Again, Jack Lucas in the BMW, or Mercedes, excuse me, as opposed to the BMW that a lot of the other B-Class drivers are in. Travis Rowe is using that Mercedes as well. Right now, James Foreman looks to be on top for the B-Class. And with some people in the pit lane in the shorter laps, we might already have all of our 3 laps put in. So this may be, for the most part, the starting order. We have Nathan Westland, though, looks to be on an improvement, unless that first sector really was a lot slower, and he could use a boost. He's really close to the guys ahead of him, currently in 12th, right behind Travis Rowe. Is he going to move his way up? We wait along this long, quote-unquote, straight through Subida dos Boxes. Turn 14, turn 15, swings around to the line, which actually goes uphill, and he moves all the way up to 9th. A big improvement of time. Jack Lucas jumps Jesse Coffey, and that is a key jump as well. Remember, Lucas and Coffey are in a tight battle right now in the championship, just 6 points, separating the 2 for second place in GTDB. Nick Terrell does have time to put a lap in. For once, if he gets a clean lap in, he will have an actual time on the board with about a minute and a half, and a little bit more than that, probably more about a minute 40 seconds to put in a minute 20 lap. He should be plenty safe, so as long as he keeps it clean here, he will be able to stack up instead of having to start last. But if this lap isn't clean like we have, I think he had one a couple races ago where it wasn't a clean lap, wasn't able to put one in. Other drivers out down there currently with some yellow sectors, Rowe and Foreman. Don't think they'll be improving. Really, Terrell's the last guy to see on the totem pole here today. You can just see how tough some of these corners are. There's no real braking markers. There's heavy steering moments where you've really got to turn the car over. And a lot of elevation to hinder or help your car, as you can kind of dip your car into some of the bends, but if you get out on the outside, you'll probably understeer and have an issue. Long straight offers good chances for passes, although with it not being too straight, makes it a little bit trickier to get by. We'll see how the drivers are able to make moves here. Best move might be into Interlagos. Crosses the line. Nick Terrell's only time is going to be, we wait, and that was maybe not a legal lap. I didn't see where he went off, but it looks like that lap will not count for Nick Terrell. He's going to start last, as is customary for him, but we've seen him come back for a win from that point before. So with qualifying over, we're going to take a few-minute break. We'll be right back with you, though. All right, we're back, and here's our official starting order. Jay Smart gets pole number 8 on the season. Paul Skip in 2nd, Nicholas Paletti in 3rd, John Kelly in 4th, Ryan Jeevan in 5th, and with no time on the board, Nick Terrell starting from his customary last place spot. Following them, Ken Huber is going to get another pole on the season. That's pole number 12, followed by Terry Kiger Jr., Aaron Claybaugh, and Mauricio Parada. Following them, James Foreman gets a pole for the B class. That is pole number 5, now beating Jack Lucas and Nathan Westland's 4 apiece. Jack Lucas right behind him. Jesse Coffey, Travis Bell, Nathan Westland, and Andrew McMurray round out the top 10. Following them, Tyler Langenberg, Travis Rowe, Greg Holland, Sean Adkins, Tony Watson, and Dan Barnett. That is the start of this race that we have, and should be an exciting one. I'll need to double check when the no passing zone is for this race through turn 3 today. So that is going to be through the beginning S's, the Senna S, Esto Senna. And after that, after they get onto the straight, the Reto Pasta, they should be able to make a move if they so choose. I think we have everybody on track, save Ryan Jeevan in the GTPs and Dan Barnett there in the GTDs. The weather, it's hard to judge. There are some glitches with the way that the accelerated time works with both the forecast and this in-game forecast that I can't really bring up here on the broadcast. Does seem like it might happen around the halfway point. About a 50% chance of rain or so. Maybe it will come down. Maybe it won't. We won't know. So we wait for the drivers to start this race in what may be a bit of an unknown later on. Jay Smart's going to lead them down the straight. Tense moments right now. Again, no passing. Will be single file for both classes through that turn 3. Only missing 2 drivers right now. So we did have Sean Atkins and Tony Watson joining the back of that field despite not putting a qualifying time in. So that's good to see. Jay Smart waiting for that green. He's got the green. They're going to accelerate. In a straight line, hitting that braking zone for the Esto Senna. Really tough downhill braking zone. Might be a good passing opportunity through the race. It does give an opportunity for a switchback. Right now, Jay Smart looks pretty fast through that. Paul Skip half a second back. Paletti another half second. Should be safe down the straight on this lap at least. Nick Terrell's already claimed a spot from John Kelly. See real quick what happened there. Kelly just kind of gave him the inside there. Wasn't going to fight him too much. It does look like Kelly was able to stay on track there. Didn't get forced out at that section. Close between them. Looking further back, Ken Huber's start looks a little bit under risk from Terry Kiger Jr. Just 0.3 separating the two. Not close enough that I think he's going to be trying anything, but a slightly different line as they head through Ferradura and La Regina. No real passing opportunity here unless a driver makes a big mistake. All of these interior turns allow a driver to catch up, but making a move is nigh impossible, although maybe I'll be proven wrong here today. But very difficult to try to find a way around any of these corners. So you can see a bit of a train happening right now. Still no passes even made in the GT3 class. Drivers, of course, more cautious on that first lap due to first lap incident rules. Again, the drivers can use that extension to the track there. That is not an off track, but a faster exit it looked like for Terry Kiger Jr. there. Is he going to be able to make a move for first into turn 1? He's not going to be getting too much slipstream in the way that these cars are currently set up. Swinging down the main straight into the Esto Senna. I don't think he's going to try anything. A little bit of a defensive line for, actually a pretty defensive line for Ken Huber. One that we don't typically see around the outside is Terry. He's going to have to back out of this one. Was close to be able to make something happen. Can Aaron Claybaugh take advantage of that? He's got a pretty good run on him. Again, Terry's position will not count for points as a legend. You can see him there highlighted in yellow. Aaron Claybaugh is going to try a move down the inside into Interlagos. Plenty of room for 2 drivers to make their way through there, but he's going to back out of that one and right behind, almost attacked by Mauricio Parada. Parada, who we've seen in the Ferrari in almost every race this season, rocking the BMW just like Aaron Claybaugh there. Thought about it for 1 second in the Ferradura, but that is a scary passing zone. Oh, and he touches Aaron Claybaugh. Aaron Claybaugh spun That was all on Mauricio Prada. I would have to say, unfortunately, nothing. I mean, maybe Aaron Claybaugh going a little bit slow because he was worried about the attack from behind. Aaron Claybaugh's car is back on track. We saw something fly off that looked like a rear wing. It clearly was not a rear wing because his rear wing's still on that car. But we need to get an idea of what kind of oh, it's the trunk. The entire trunk is off of that. I don't know how much of an effect that's going to have on him, but he's down 9 spots. Mauricio Prada's down 5. See, again, this was the incident. Heading into Ferradura. Clean enough. Then through Laranjinha. And, yeah, just a little bit faster for Parada, but didn't quite let up. I can't believe he didn't lose his rear wing. We've always seen rear wings come off in incidents like that, so generally somewhat lucky for Aaron Claybaugh, unless that is a meatball. I don't know for sure if that's something that you get penalized for. Does give the top 2 some good breathing room. Terry Calger chasing down Ken Huber, but a whole 2.5 seconds back. So we switch this now to interval. Yeah, 2.2 seconds back to James Foreman and Jack Lucas, who are duking it out right now. Is Jack Lucas going to make a move? Thought about it for a second. Couldn't quite. Really, I think he could have got that done if he had pulled out. He kind of bailed out that one pretty early, and it looked like he had the speed to make that one finish. Nicholas Paletti has just had an incident. He's off, way off. He's behind all of the GTPs now, and that car looks majorly damaged. What happened to him there? He's pulling off to the side. He's going to have to tow. What happened to him here? Loses control of the car multiple times. Huge collision with the wall. And that is an undrivable car. Nicholas Paletti, who came into this race just 2... Oh, and we've had some other stuff. Tyler Langenberg, Travis Rowe. 2 drivers who maybe just got tangled up with each other. Let's see here. Travis Rowe behind. Tyler Langenberg in front. And Langenberg through the left. Just gets tapped by Rowe, and both drivers go spinning around. Doesn't look like too much damage. Actually, Langenberg was able to get going pretty quickly, but Travis Rowe back there having to make an entire 180. Oh, and we got some more things. That's live. That was live. So this was Travis Rowe. That was him rejoining. And Tony Watson had an incident. He's got that slightly damaged car of Tyler Langenberg on the outside of him, too wide as they head into Junsao, and a collision between the two. This has been a bit of a messy few laps for Langenberg, unfortunately. Not necessarily all his fault, but let's take another look at this incident here. And heading through that left-hander of Junsao, very important turn, and I think that Tony Watson just hit that inside curb, upset the car a little bit, and that is probably what caused him there. Nicholas Paletti looks like he has come into the pits and was able to do so quite luckily just in time to get ahead of the entire GTD field. So not getting mired back in all of those cars, but as you can see, 38 seconds back from John Kelly. Unless the strategy really is just a very short splash and dash and then a full pit stop, this is going to be difficult for Paletti to fight for any meaningful points against his rivals of Paul Skip and Nick Terrell, who is currently now up to 3rd due to Ryan Jeeva not starting, Paletti's incident there, and then passing John Kelly at the start of the race. So looking through the field, looking at some of these close battles. Right now, Parada trying to reclaim some positions. He's actually got Aaron Claybaugh right behind him for position as well. Greg Holland, I think, has just had an incident himself. So we see him here through the left of Pinarino, I believe. No, excuse me, that was Mergulio. And that's exactly, I think, what we saw happen to Paletti. We saw that same kind of tank slapper, losing control of the car. I saw it in practice as well. A difficult corner for some of these guys, and that was almost a move made by Parada on Andrew McMurray. That was really close to being done. Actually, it looks like maybe it was. We see here, it's catch back up on the action. Parada sending it into turn 1 down the Estacena, but it looks like, yeah, McMurray gets him back on a nice switchback. Tough battling between both these guys, but very fair played for both sides. So he's, since he wasn't able to get by before the Descida del Lago, he's going to have to do a lot of following through this section. It does look like he is pretty much in. Oh, and he's got a sinew thought about it for a second. It does look like he is pretty unaffected by the collision from earlier, and he's going to spin a little bit. He saves it. That was a wonderful save that he had there, but is he going to get attacked by Clay? He is. Clayball's on the inside. Clayball has a nose ahead of him. He's got the inside line. Surely he's going to be able to take this spot, and he does. He moves his way ahead, so Clayball not being too slowed down by that damage to the back of the car. You can see that exposed fan there. Just the slightest mistakes for Mauricio Parada trying to get up to McMurray. Now, let's see on this top speed, both in the same car, is there a lot of drag that's coming from that damage on Clayball's car? We're going to see it down the straight if Parada has a good advantage on him. Doesn't seem like he's really catching up any more than any of the other cars are, so I think Clayball can consider himself decently lucky. No move made into turn one. Still close up at the front here for Lucas and Foreman. Lucas trying to chase down a win. He's been without a win for a few races now, which has been a bit of a longer kind of drought for him, but not really. He's just had a really strong last half of the season, and it's been quite impressive. But the safety points are going to be important as well. Parada got Clayball back. He did that just here on this lap. So we take a look, replay, what happened. Clayball goes out wide, and yeah, just trying not to earn that off track through to Interlagos. Couldn't do anything to hold off Parada there. Parada's going to sail on by as they continue to have a pretty exciting race between them. Just a little bit behind these guys as well is a close three-man battle for fifth. Jesse Coffey's 1.2 seconds back from Jack Lucas, but Coffey, Bell, and Westland. Bell, the A-Class car sandwiched between the two B-Class cars of Coffey and Westland, all in good contention right now in this race. And I guess one thing that should be mentioned about Paletti's incident as well, potentially, depending on if rain comes, when it comes, how much they actually need to pit for wet tires, it is possible that his early pit stop is not as disastrous as it may seem. He definitely needed to make that stop when he did. He was not going to be able to continue with that car. But it's possible that everyone's going to have to make one stop by that point anyway, so he may be okay. But we'll see. It would be lucky. Aaron Clayball gets by. Well, that was really close for the Jay Smart making his way through there. Nick Terrell's making his way by Aaron Clayball, who just got back on Mauricio Parada, as these two continue to duke it out for 9th and 10th currently. We'll see if this is about to switch back, coming down the straight to Interlagos. No move made there, so let's look. This must have been into turn one. Oh, and Paul's skip comes through, and it left Mauricio Parada a little bit hung out to dry on the outside. Swinging around the outside is Nick Terrell, not that far back. Haven't said a lot about the GTP class. Up at the front, 3.5 second advantage for Jay Smart, which is pretty healthy given the amount of time. But Nick Terrell, only 2 seconds back from Paul Skip. Not enough to be threatening him yet at this point, but it is something to watch. So we really don't know the pace for Nick Terrell in this race. He's gone without a practice or qualifying lap, so we don't know what to expect. But this battle that we were just looking at a little bit ago, that has now turned into a much larger train. For one moment there, Jesse Coffey was under a second to Jack Lucas. So from Foreman in 3rd all the way back to Nathan Westland here in 7th, all within about 7/10 as they were heading through that interior section of the track. See there, looking at the sectors, how different it is between them. Travis Bell actually slower through 3 of the sectors, but so much faster in Sector 3, tough inside section of this track. For the BMW as well, which does seem to be a popular pick. I mean, Aaron Clayball and Parada got into an incident that had nothing to do with the handling of their car. They both were much higher. So the BMW may be a good pick for this track here today. Remains to be seen if he'll handle the weather as well as some of the other cars. But Ken Huber's now expanded his gap to a second, just under a second there for one moment. So not the most calm gap of all time, but feeling pretty confident for Huber at this point of the race. Strategy definitely is not cemented as it has been for most of the season with the unknown forecast coming up in the future. Close between these three. Heading down the left of Mergullo into Junsao. Junsao easily the most important turn of this circuit, and not an easy one. It's the most important, and it's a very difficult one to really get that turn in right. You don't often see people go off wide, but to just maximize apex speed through there is very difficult, and it affects so much of your lap time because of how much on throttle you're doing after that point. I mean, technically, there's turn 13, 14, 15, but they're all just straight, flat out in any car, save maybe like a 1950s F1 car. But these guys absolutely gripping that track and sending it around that long straight. Mauricio Prada, Aaron Clayball, the duel is not over. They're going to be coming down the straight, down into through the straight of Reta Apasta into Descida del Lago. Prada maybe doesn't have the overspeed to make anything happen here. He's catching up a little bit too late. He's going to have to back out of it. Will Clayball stay on track this time? That's how Prada was able to get by earlier. Clayball goes just a little bit wide there, and one of the previous laps gives Prada the spot, but he stays in track that time. Only 13 minutes in this race. Nick Terrell continues to close up a little bit on Paul Skip. You can see here that Skip, well, I mean, the gaps in second, it may have been through traffic that he caught up, because the actual pace gaps that we're seeing now that they're freed down there are essentially equal. I mean, literally just thousandths of seconds. Look at that, 12 seconds, 12 thousandths one way, 9 thousandths the other way. Not a lot separating these guys right now. Very evenly matched, which is not what you want to hear when you're the guy behind, of course, especially starting in tougher circumstances. Did Terrell maybe make a mistake there in turn one? He just lost about a second on Paul Skip. I don't know if that, yeah, 1 second slower. Maybe it was I didn't quite notice what the big issue was there, but maybe just missing the apex by a little bit. Of course, with turn one, there's so much momentum that you take from that through turns 2 and 3 and then down the straight that it definitely can affect you for a long time if you make an accident there, as opposed to some of these interior turns where they're less linked up. They are difficult, but it's less important that you get one right, because you can usually make it up in some of the others. Does not make the interior section of this track easy by any means. Parada's going to pull out to the left side into Descida del Lago. Isn't quite close enough to make something happen, and that brings Sean Adkins there into this battle as well. Adkins did not qualify. He's up 3 from where he started, which was near the back. I think, yeah, he was one spot ahead of Tony Watson at least. But he's going to be trying to pick up the scraps from this battle that's going on right now. Terry Kiger Jr. for one moment had broken under that second marker again for Huber. Does seem like he's pretty confident up there. Prada actually the purple sector 1 on that lap too, so that was part of what was giving Clayball so much pressure, was that was the fastest sector 1 of any driver in the field. But Clayball beating him in sectors 2, 3, 4, and now some traffic helps splitting him up. Makes things a little bit easier for him. That is Nicholas Paletti there. That just shows how much further back he is than all the rest of the drivers. I mean, all top 4 guys in GTP have already lapped the field, and they're well past lapping Huber there. Paletti still has almost the entire field to go through still. So difficult situation for him as far as how far back he is. 30 seconds from John Kelly currently. Nathan Westland super close to Travis Bell right now. As close as we've seen him. Will he make any move here? Not going to make a move down the straight, I guess. Oh, he is. He's going to go to the left into the Descida del Lago. A bit of a close-up by Bell just to try to defend the position. Can he keep it stuck? They're both going to be going side by side. 3 wide now as Paletti makes his way through. I think that Bell should be able to defend this into Ferradura, and he does, but that was a valiant effort for Nathan Westland, and one that he may try to capitalize on a little bit later with just a bit of a stronger move, but a feeler there that did leave him almost under attack right behind from Andrew McMurray, who he's up to. I mean, all drivers from 3rd back to 8th, they're up 2 spots due to the incidents from Clayball and Parada. And other than that, no spots have changed. So it's been status quo for the top 8 outside of just avoiding that incident. But we're starting to see some moves almost made. And Travis Rowe looks like he's had an incident. See what happens here. Heading right, we saw him in an incident earlier already in this race. Was able to get away without too much damage. Now through the left of Pinerino. And a bit of a pirouette as he gets his car back going straight. There's Jay Smart there coming up to lap as well. Close between these three into turn one. Can Nathan Westland make another move happen into Interlagos? Maybe he would want to take the outside this time. Again, the inside, he tried. Couldn't quite get it to work, but he did send it from a little bit far back. Maybe if he had some more overspeed. It doesn't look like he's going to have that this lap. Stronger on the brakes. Know where he can go. And McMurray just lurking right behind. And just up front, Jack Lucas still close to James Foreman. Doesn't seem like he's been further than half a second away for the entire race. But hasn't been able to make any moves yet. Again, James Foreman not making any mistakes. And Foreman doesn't have any benefit of a driver in front to gain some draft off potentially, because right now Terry's 4 seconds up the road. And by that nature, Ken Huber 5 seconds as well. But this is the battle currently for the B-Class win. And it expands just a little bit through this sector. James Foreman using the, not runoff, but using that extension to the track's width a little bit more than Jack Lucas. It looked like he had a bit more speed at the start through Jinsao. Was able to take advantage of that. So you might see drivers start to go out a little bit wider there. McMurray may be able to make a move on Nathan Westland in down the straight into turn one. Let's see what he does. He's right behind. He's going to pull to the left side, try to take the inside, which becomes the outside of the second part if you're not quite fast enough. A little bit of a twitch on the brakes. He gives him room. Oh, and yeah, Nathan Westland totally backing out of that one there. Could not fight that one off. I actually thought that we were going to see him appear side by side there, but McMurray with the fastest Sector 5 of any driver in the field, really taking advantage of that draft, and also must have really nailed that exit to Jinsao. Strong move. First pass that we've had in the top 8 on track. So nice move for McMurray to get that going. We'll see if that creates any sort of knockdown effects. We are starting to get to the point, too, where tire wear and how drivers have been taking care of the car is going to be a big effect. Any fuel saving, of course, has to be taken into account. Although the GTDs don't typically have to fuel save all that much. It's just about when they decide to come in for their pit stop. The GTPs on a lot of races have had to do some pretty heavy fuel saving to avoid that 2-stop penalty. Not that you get a penalty from it, just the amount of time lost from pitting for your second time. And the one-stop strategy has been the way to go for a lot of the latest races. See if any of that weather changes this. Jay Smart right there continues to pull away from Paul Skip behind. Still not an insurmountable lead, but 5.2 seconds, pretty comfortable for him. So we see Paul Skip come through. You hear the car there. And Paul Skip is also about stagnant with his gap from Nick Terrell there, 2.3 seconds, which shouldn't worry him too much. It'll make Nick Terrell a little bit frustrated unless some heavy fuel savings potentially going on. That might be the game right now. But I think with the amount of off-throttle through some of these turns, it would be a little bit easier to fuel safe. McMurray, he made a pass last lap. Is he going to make one here this time now on Travis Bell to move his way up to 6th? Started back. He's got it down the inside. He's already got the move done. Can Bell switch back? I don't think he can, because now he's got Paul Skip on the inside. Does McMurray see him? He barely does. Bell staying behind. And by this point, there's no move that you can really make in Ferradura. He's thought about it for one split second, thought better. And that's definitely for the best that he did not try to force a move there. Westland unable to take advantage of Travis Bell through that situation. McMurray, nice couple moves that he's got early on in this race. Take a look at a replay. Here's that move that Andrew McMurray made into Interlagos. Just had so much more speed through that first S and the Curva del Sol that really nothing that Travis Bell could do. The move was done by the time they were done braking. Ooh, and Terry Kiger Jr. as well, also catching up here to Ken Huber. Down on the 0.3. This is as close as we've seen. It's generally been hovering about a second. And looking at those sectors, it looks like that maybe happened on the last lap, because I don't see, or the previous lap from this one even, because I don't see where in those sectors he caught up that amount of time. Looks like Greg Holland is out. We did see that incident for him earlier. It wasn't really a huge crash or anything, but parking the car. Dan Burnett did not take the start. I know he was having some issues with VR. Was going to try to do it on the monitor. Wasn't able to make it work. So unfortunate to not see Barnett able to start the race here today. Travis Bell not letting go of that 6th position yet. But he has to worry about Nathan Westland behind just as much as he's trying to attack Andrew McMurray in front. And you can be as close as you want through this section. It's just not going to mean anything as far as overtakes. You're going to have to follow. And man, if it does rain, that interior section is going to be brutal. I mean, it's going to be hard enough for the GTDs, let alone the GTPs, which really struggle on the rain. It's actually not just a feature of them being faster, higher horsepower cars, but it's actually something that iRacing has noticed and intend to fix in a soon-to-come patch, but not yet. This looks like a pretty good exit for Travis Bell, though. Sub 2 tenths all on the way through the apex of Jin Sao, down to a 10.5. Can he make something happen? Jay Smart in the GTP set the fastest lap of the race last lap at a 1:21.4 as well, so he's at 7.6 seconds ahead now. Bell, does he want to make something happen at turn 1? He does, very late. Last second move down the inside. Can he get it slowed down? Does look like he's given some room. He's given some room. McMurray, though, a nose ahead. Nice defense for Andrew McMurray, as it seemed like he was dead to rights there in the S's. Again, Westland not in the position to be able to take advantage, but just staying there enough. Very close for those guys. Let's take a look at that move that was initially made. Travis Bell swinging it down the inside. Instead of staying on the outside, McMurray actually goes for the switchback. A very clever move that, look how much momentum it was able to get him. Expertly executed to be able to swing around that way. That was a fantastic and really smart defense. I mean, he could have tried to hang it around the outside. Maybe still would have been able to hold that spot. But that was really the right move to take there for Andrew McMurray. Nice move to see. Swinging around now through Jin Sao. Nowhere near as close this time for Bell. Actually, kind of close for Nathan Westland, but it does look like the gap needs to be 2 or 3 tenths, with the exception of a really, really big difference in exit speed, which maybe that's what happened here. Terry Coward Jr. almost broke 2 tenths into the braking zone down the S's. Another spot that will be very difficult in the rain. Swinging around Curva del Sol down the Red O Pasta. Should be safe from attack this time around, but and you look at that, you can see out in the distance there, that image there, the clouds did not look super nice. They looked a little dark, a little bit scary. We'll see if it actually does rain. It's going to at least give the drivers some heart palpitations, seeing that weather on the horizon. May not hit the track. It may not hit it that long, given that there's the accelerated time. It does make the weather forecast harder to predict, but it also does mean that the rain should last less long. We didn't see rain very long at Barcelona, and it was one where technically it was rain affected in that qualifying session in the start of the race, but I didn't really see drivers struggling that much for grip. We didn't see a lot of spins, even at the start of the race on cold tires. So we would need a pretty decent chunk of rain coming in rather than just that strip that we had last week at Barcelona. And dark clouds all up ahead, that is for sure. Looking like definitely the locationally appropriate Brazil weather so far. Is it going to rain? Again, we're looking at maybe the halfway point, so we're halfway to that, essentially. We'll see if that actually does come to fruition, but it's something for the drivers to be a little bit worried about right now. Right now, James Foreman worrying about Jack Lucas behind, but Lucas we still haven't seen make an attempt on the move. Was about as close as I think we've seen all race, but still nothing happening for a pass. The Ferrari seems to do well down the straights. The Mercedes as well. So they're kind of about even through their sub 2/10 for Jack Lucas for one moment into the braking zone. It's a long race. Does not need to make the move now. But we'll also be keeping in mind potential undercut. This is a prime undercut type territory when you're only 3/10, 2/10 back, but you just can't make that move happen. You can surprise your opponent by coming in, and this is a track where you can really pit in sneakily, if that makes sense. I mean, the racing line basically goes past the pit entry, the way that you just hug that left side of that straight through Subida dos Boxes up 13 and 14. And it would be pretty easy as the guy behind to, at the very last second, slip on in to the left and take your opponent by surprise. But a little too early for that. Latest we could, I mean, the earliest we could possibly imagine would be like in 7 minutes. And that would be really, really pushing it on the way that these fuel tanks are going. I think they would obviously be still a good amount further than that we're going to see our first pit, maybe up until the 40-minute mark. But I think with the rain, drivers would like to probably stay out of fear of having to switch to possibly some wet tires. Terry Kiger Jr. put in the fastest lap of the race for 1:33.81. That beats Ken Huber's 1:33.89. And Lucas, again, now 1/10. He's around the inside. He's going to be able to try to make a move down into Interlagos. Can he make something happen? Down the straight, he's a little bit faster than James Foreman on the outside. Some traffic coming through as well. That's actually going to help Lucas as it opens up that path for him. He swings around the inside, and Foreman can do nothing to defend. Jack Lucas up to third overall. Second, really, with Terry Kiger Jr.'s points not counting, so that's second overall and first for the B class. And crucial in his battle with Jesse Coffey. Not only does he get to a first-place spot here, but he gets one more position in between him and Jesse Coffey at a very important crossroads of the season. Travis Bell close to Nathan Wessonier. Oh, that's Nathan Westland is in front of Travis Bell. Let's see what happens here. This just happened. And Travis Bell went way, way, way wide there. Westland just taking advantage through, looks like, that was through Desida del Lago, just running out super wide. I mean, luckily there's runoff there as opposed to gravel or something else. But Travis Bell losing the spot there, right there off screen. And was trying to claw it back. So the order's all switched up now. Mauricio Parada, Aaron Claybaugh, they've both started to come up to the tail of Travis Bell here as well, hunting down Nathan Westland. And the only thing that's happened is that McMurray, who had some stellar pace to get the pass done on both Westland and Bell behind, he's had the pace to step away from the pair. He's 2.3 seconds ahead. Oh, excuse me, I'm reading that wrong. He's a second ahead for Travis Bell. No, he's 2.3. I'm sorry. 2.3 seconds. He's still got another 2.4, 2.5 seconds to Jesse Coffey in front. Excuse me. All kinds of confused right now. But he will be able to have plenty of time to try to catch it up. I'm interested to see if that gap starts to come down. Jesse Coffey in a bit of no man's land. He's a couple seconds off of Foreman, a couple seconds ahead of Andrew McMurray. Sometimes that's what you would want to be in as a driver. Here's this grouping of 4 cars right now since McMurray stepped away from the battle. But we've had Bell and Bell and Westland, but Claybaugh and Parada have joined, making this pretty interesting. We hit the 31-minute mark. Don't want to miss potentially any rain coverage, so we'll keep this here on screen. Take a few-minute break and be right back with you right after this. back and clearly missed some action. Just went over there with some replays. Getting another incident between Mauricio Parada and Aaron Claybaugh. This time Claybaugh got a little bit out of sorts on the exit. Parada just not expecting it, accidentally runs into the back of him. Really nothing he could do to avoid that incident, and Claybaugh sent off into the wall, lost a little bit more than just that rear bumper. He came into the pits. It does look like he's back out on track. Just took him longer. We saw a pit stop for Parada as well to repair any damage that he had, but it did really spread out that field. What initially we saw, McMurray, Westland, Bell, Parada, and Claybaugh all pretty close. Now gaps all increasing. Now the one gap that I was bringing some attention to and wanted to follow it has come down. Andrew McMurray, actually for 1 second there, was 1.8 seconds back from Jesse Coffey. Was 2.5, 2.6 last time we were looking at it. So that is a strong move that he's made so far. He just put in his best lap of the race as well at a 1:34.11, and that is really fast. I mean, that is on the level of what the guys up at the front of the field are doing right now. Ken Huber's last lap was 1:34.03. And yeah, sure enough, that was the third fastest lap of the GTD field last time around. Tyler Langenberg into the pits. Mauricio Parada into the pits again. They potentially have a drive-through? No, he stopped, so not a drive-through. Was the first one a drive-through potentially? I don't think that he would have really earned that many incidents unless he's going off track a lot that we didn't see, but both drivers in for a normal pit stop. Langenberg leaving earlier and Parada in a little bit long. Don't know if that really means anything, but I don't see any incident for something that happened, so don't think anything too dramatic happened, at least on track to flag there. But Parada's still in the pits, so is he serving a penalty? I mean, I don't. Maybe he sped in the pits, but he wouldn't be able to come into the pit. I actually have no idea what's going on with Parada's car right now, but he's in the pits. He got a tire change. We saw him jacked up, but not trying to do anything. Another fastest lap for Andrew McMurray. Look at him here. He's got some traffic coming up on him, but he just put in a 134.10. Talk about consistency. I mean, that is a hundredth of a second difference between his last two laps. Both of them the fastest that he's done in the race so far. Really strong showing right now. So you can see there that he is caught up 4/10 on that previous lap, and then another 3/10 now to Coffey on this last lap. And what was a pretty large gap is getting ever closer, down to 1.4 seconds. Seems we may have a battle on our hands before the pit stops. We are definitely in the pit time for drivers to be able to make it happen on one stop, so may be able to pit to undercut, although he's looking like he's in the window, so potentially Coffey would just pit to avoid the battle. But Terry Kyer Jr. is really the prime candidate right now for an undercut. Again, not scored for points. Still could win the race regardless. Just 3/10 back, an undercut would be able to get Ken Huber if he pulls a surprise pit on him. They're coming down the straight. It's dropping down to now 2/10. Really make something happen. Let's take a look at it real quick just to make sure we're not going to miss a move as the sky gets darker. He did think I really thought he sent it. He made it look like it. Bit of a dummy move, but staying close still. Oh, and Travis Bell just got it. Oh, Nathan Westland. Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, he was off track there for a second. Did he go wide potentially through Jin Sao? Or Subida dos Boxes, actually. May have been after that point. Yeah, oh, yeah, we had a couple things for Nathan Westland here. The follow him just goes a little bit wide there. Loses control of the car entirely. Cuts a huge section of the track. Gets it nearly stopped, but then goes back over. So, yeah, this is over there. That's turn 13, 14. Very scary with Jay Smart flying by there. But Travis Bell able to just get by as he's coming up to speed. May even have a drive or a penalty to serve. Nathan Westland comes into the pits. Hopefully not with a slowdown still to serve, because if he did, that is going to be a stop and hold penalty converted. He's making his pit stop now. Tony Watson moves into the top 10. I haven't said a lot about him today, but we're seeing him here. I haven't seen him for a number of races. He has been here for a couple on the season, I believe, if I'm not too incorrect. But, yeah, we see that. The last race we had him at was the Red Bull Ring, so a couple months ago. We did see him for 3 races earlier in the season as well. We saw him, including Red Bull Ring. We saw him at Willow Springs and Fuji. Do you remember he had a pretty good race going in Willow Springs? I think an incident happened to him late. Foreman kind of close to Jack Lucas here. Now has broken the 1 second mark. And Lucas was able to claim that first place in B-class spot down through this section. Had that overspeed down to Reto Apasa and the Descida del Lago. And Foreman didn't really fall that much far back from him after that point. He's been in contention, but he hasn't been threatening him too much. And McMurray, who just continues to get faster and faster, now down to 8/10. We saw last lap was 1.2 seconds, I think. Yeah, another 3/10 faster. Another consistent lap. Look at that. 34.1, 34.1, 34.2, 34.1. It's the picture of consistency so far from McMurray, and not just consistent, but consistently fast, which is the scariest thing for Coffey in front. Car working for him well. We've seen the Ferrari work well at some other tracks, but they've generally been very different type tracks than this one. Paul Skip trying to find a way through this interior section. I think McMurray's going to give him the inside. Bit of just a minor miscommunication between the two. So he's going to lose some time to Coffey there. And sure enough, down to 1.5 seconds. So he's going to lose that consistency due to some traffic. And Nick Terrell coming up behind as well. Terrell down to 3.5 seconds back. Skip down to 10, almost 11 seconds back from Jay Smart. It is becoming more and more out of hand for the win, but really Paul Skip, I mean, he'd like to have the win, to have the advantage over Terrell and Paletti by another position, but I don't think that he's probably going to really care all that much. As long as he's ahead of both the Nicks, he's happy. Nicholas Paletti is continuing to close the gap to John Kelly. Can he get him? Will be the question come late in this race. Should be able to, given his pace. Because he's running about a second faster. Although their best laps are not that different. So it seems to be just this, maybe as of late. Ooh, and Foreman close to Lucas here. I think the traffic grouped these two up a little bit. Nothing happening into Descida del Lago. But Paletti's got to desperately get by John Kelly by the end of this race to just limit the amount he's losing to Skip and Terrell, especially Terrell, because Terrell being behind him in the standings could jump him depending on safety points coming out of this race. We obviously already saw Paletti losing some potential safety points with some incidents earlier. We haven't seen any incidents from Skip and Terrell. Could definitely be some off tracks that they're piling up, but very well could still be at 0. We don't know. Tony Watson coming into the pits. We are just at that halfway point. Most drivers haven't come in, and doesn't surprise me with how many turns there are. I imagine the fuel mileage pretty good here. If you want to stretch it long, you definitely can. Probably a lot of drivers who are not too terribly worried about their fuel tanks right now. But some undercuts may be in order. Nick Terrell comes into the pits right at the halfway point. Does look like all the GTPs are going to be able to make a one-stop happen except for Nicholas Paletti. So again, that's going to hurt. That was, other than the weather, potentially still messing some stuff up. And Foreman into the pits to jump Jack Lucas. Let's see if Jack Lucas responds, or even if he does, if it matters. Watch this pit stop for James Foreman, fighting for the B-class lead, up for some tires. Long pit stops for these GT3s. Long time to fill up the tank. Long time to switch the tires. So it is a painful wait. Luckily, you get a bit of a rest. Nick Terrell still in the pits there, getting some fuel. James Foreman's been dropped, and he's leaving before Terrell. Does Terrell have an issue? He's been in there for a while. Now he's on the pit exit now. Okay, maybe just a longer pit stop than I kind of expected for the GTPs in comparison. I haven't often seen them pit at the same time, really, all that honestly. But right now, here's James Foreman. We're going to expect Jack Lucas to come in on this next lap. He's currently swinging around Mergulho. He's coming up to Jun Sao, so he'll be able to make his decision. Jay Smart and Paul Skip have both come into the pits. Less of an answer to Nick Terrell's pit stop and more just that they can't go any further. GTP's very stretched thin on fuel in this race. Still potentially looking for some rain that would come around this time. We're past the halfway point. It's hard to understand the the weather, because the accelerated time, it seems to kind of mess up the weather forecasting. And still, at the end of the day, it's just, unless it's a scripted weather event, which these were not, it's just a chance of rain. And just like real life, rain could look very likely but not come. But the sky definitely looks pretty rainy, but we're not seeing any raindrops anywhere yet. It would definitely be pretty painful for especially the GTD guys to come into the pits and immediately have to come back out. And Jack Lucas did not pit, by the way. We actually didn't really see any pits from the GT3s on that. So, I mean, if James Foreman's putting in some hot laps here, that is not going to be good news for Lucas on trying to defend. Maybe he's going to go for the full overcut, and maybe it's a worry about the weather. We do have Travis Rowe into the pits. Andrew McMurray continues to catch up to Jesse Coffey, maybe able to pass him on track even without going for an undercut. Fastest guy on the track so far here. Nathan Westland, who we saw pit a couple laps ago, he just put in his best lap of the race. So if that goes to show what these guys doing an undercut kind of strategy could possibly do, that should scare Jack Lucas a little bit. Currently sitting in third overall. Was third before the pit stop. Will he stay in third? Hard to tell. He's coming across the line again. Yeah, so he's not going to be pitting. So he's going to go long. Maybe waiting for some weather. They got plenty of fuel to do so. Jesse Coffey's going to defend against an undercut, and probably not what McMurray wanted to see there, but McMurray just going to do the opposite. I think he feels he even has the pace without this undercut to make the overtake happen. Just getting some clean air here. Terry Kiger Jr. has taken the lead from Ken Huber. Ken Huber, for what he often hasn't seen on this season, looking at the bumper of another car. There was the pass made into Interlagos, and with the assistance of John Kelly's lapping car, really nothing that Ken Huber could do to get back under there and try to defend that position. So some smart positioning by Terry Kiger Jr. Again, Ken Huber still in the lead of the race, points-wise. But Terry giving him a run for his money so far. Know he wanted to do that, joining these last few races. Knew he wasn't going to be counted, but wanted to show some people his pace. Has had a couple unfortunate incidents come upon him, Terry Kiger Jr., but right now it's been a very clean race for him so far. With 40 minutes to go in this 90-minute race, he's currently got the lead on Ken Huber, but with a pit stop to go, which looks like he's about to take... Oh, no, never mind. Looks like he was about to dip in there. And, of course, Ken Huber's magical pit stop maneuvers that we've seen him make. Potentially, the lead would go back to Ken Huber. Unsure of that. And we'll see once we get that. It looks like it's brightening up again. Have we gotten past the weather that could potentially bring the rain? Unsure. But not looking so rainy anymore from the amount of light that we just had shown on track there. Tony Watson just had an incident. Oh, and hard to tell. I can't tell what exactly caused that. That's just him trying to be safe about rejoining the track. I think that looks like maybe he's even having issues with the shifting. Yeah, some weird problems going on equipment-wise, I think, for Tony here. And a bit of a smack on the bumper for good measure. That actually really dented that bumper in. Aaron Claybaugh comes up on him. Didn't impede anybody, but I wonder what was going on for Tony Watson there. Is he still close with Aaron Claybaugh there? Still waiting on some pits, though, to sort out some action. We'll see if Andrew McMurray was able to get Jesse Coffey through the pit. We saw both times we saw the driver in front pit. Jesse Coffey pit in front of McMurray, and James Foreman pit in front of Jack Lucas as well. Or be behind, excuse me. That was actually the opposite. Huber now into the pits. Can he undercut Terry? See come around the next lap. Nick Terrell has massively closed up on Paul Skip. He had, a one-lap undercut. Was it really that strong? Hard to tell. Paletti's in for his next pit stop. Terrell trying to get every ounce draft as McMurray now comes into the stop. So we'll see how Jack Lucas as well. So we'll see where those battles that I just talked about, how they shake out. But one lap of warmed up tires has done Nick Terrell some good here. What was a 5-second or so gap has now dropped down to just 0.8. How much of that was the pit stop time, though? You see pit time, yeah, pretty much the same between the two, just 0.2 difference. So I wonder what has caused so much of a jump up the field. Jack Lucas on the exit. Where is James Foreman? James Foreman a little bit back right now. Yeah, Foreman I think is going to lose out on this one. That is McMurray, and he is going to get well ahead of Jesse Coffey. So a couple different results there. He's almost going to get James Foreman even. He actually may. He may. Let's see into Decido del Lago. Will he have the braveness on the brakes? And Foreman had the temperature, but he didn't have the gap to get up to him. So McMurray not only jumps Jesse Coffey, he jumps James Foreman too somehow. I'm confused. I mean, James Foreman was right on the back of Jack Lucas. Did he really have that bad of outlaps? Take a look. First off, we do have Terry Calgary Jr. in for his pits, so that makes Sean Adkins the only driver to have not pit yet. Surely he's going to be coming in soon. He's up 10 from where he started right now, currently in 4th. And Travis Bell also has not pit. That would explain why he's up there in 2nd currently. But McMurray gets around Foreman, and Foreman, I don't know how he lost all that time. I mean, if we see here pit time, James Foreman was a little long, a 25.8. Actually, a couple drivers, both Jack Lucas and Murray, with a shorter pit stop than Ken Huber. That is a rare occurrence. Ken Huber, though, with the shorter pit stop, didn't matter. Terry was just too fast on the in-lap. A whole 1.5 second differential in pit time, but it didn't help him. Travis Bell, Sean Adkins, they're coming into the pits now. Starting to look like weather is maybe less likely, although again, changes can happen quite fast with this accelerated weather. Still close up here at the front. Bell is coming out, looks like behind everyone save Adkins because they pit on the same lap there. Tyler Langenberg is going to be trying to get in front of Adkins here on the exit. Let's see what happens here. Adkins on the right side of the screen, Langenberg on the left. Two guys in the Audi here tonight, and Adkins going to slot back in. And we'll have to spend a little bit of time getting his tires warm. Meanwhile, what we just saw in the background there was Nick Terrell dropping the gap down to less than half a second to Paul Skip. We haven't seen the GTPs, any of them, battle each other. So we don't know if the passing opportunities are really going to be the same spots as the other cars. Nice move for Skip to get by at that point. Able to give himself a bit of a breather from Terrell through this interior section. This is an important battle right now. Paletti does look like, yeah, he is, at least on pace, he's got John Kelly for real. I don't think that's, because he already has made his second pit stop, Nick Paletti. So outside of Jay Smart, he is a third of these three guys. And coming into today's race, Paul Skip was at 6:23, 2 points back to Nick Terrell at 6:21, 5 back to Paletti at 6:18. So Paletti was the guy that least needed to be on the losing end of this trio, and it seems like there's really no, unless there's a wreck, that there's really no scenario in which he is able to get ahead of either of these guys. So it's going to be a tough race for Paletti to swallow, one that may, just given the small amount of point differential that there is out there, may be unrecoverable from, as Terrell right now is going to be trying to make a move on Paul Skip. This is championship implications down to Decido del Lago, really pinching him on the inside. Paul Skip defending it well, both staying on track, both going through the exit of Decido del Lago. Paul Skip has a bit of an advantage, but the outside is not where you want to be for Ferradura. He has enough of a pace gap, and there's a car coming up, Tony Watson, and Nick Terrell swings his way through on the inside. The car of Tony Watson got in the way, not that he did anything to impede them. But into Laranjina, or into Essa, excuse me, Nick Terrell takes that position. That is second in the race, but that is going to be important for the championship. That is enough safety points. That's enough to move him into first place, outside of maybe factoring in some drop weights. It gets confusing when you start trying to imagine those. Ooh, Jack Lucas is backwards. The entire rear wing is off that car. Luckily, he's close to the pit entry, but he's not even going to try it. What happened to him there? That's not a place you'd often lose control of the car. Did he get hit by Jay Smart potentially? He did. Collision with Jay Smart, which this is big news for Jack Lucas, a competitor for second in GTDB, and just the slightest of taps between the two cars now completely takes him out of that. Jesse Coffey will be breathing a sigh of relief, as Jack Lucas really had one up on him. And yeah, we're not even going to see Jack Lucas for the rest of this race. He has already retired the car, him and Mauricio Parada as well. Wow, what a turn of events for Lucas, coming from what was third overall, and now Andrew McMurray. Andrew McMurray's moved his way in the second, excluding Terry Kiger Jr. First for GTDB as well, 7 spots. He started in 10th. And didn't even start the race with the kind of pace that he ended up getting. I mean, he's had some of the best pace of the field. He's got a 2-second advantage on James Foreman, which has only grown since that pit stop. Just slightly, you can see down there. But, man. Terry Kiger Jr. with the fastest lap of the race. Up in first. Huber, his personal fastest at a 1:33.77. They're really dueling out there in front. But Terry right now with the slight advantage. Nick Terrell swings his way through. Paul Skip's going to have to wait through the exit. Another spot where Skip's going to lose some time. He was under a second. Now he's over a second gap. Travis Bell is about to make a move on Nathan Westland. This is very close down the straight. Tony Watson just had an incident. We'll get back to that. Through the outside. Can Nathan Westland do anything to defend into Esto Senna? He is ahead. He's going to be the outside of the next current turn. Will Bell try a switchback like we saw McMurray do? He's not going to try that, or at least wasn't close enough to be able to make it happen. But here's a good exit for Bell through Curva do Sol into Reto Pasta. Drivers on the inside or outside can make the pass happen. He swings back into the inside. Nathan Westland doesn't give him the outside. Bell back to the inside into Desida do Lago. Can he make the move happen? He's on the brakes. They're both doing well. Westland gives him the space. He stays in bounds. And Bell is maybe not close enough to make something happen. We saw Paul Skip try the outside here. It didn't work. That was due to some traffic. This time just loses out on that drag into Ferradura and Laranjina. Nathan Westland is going to be able to keep that spot, but for how long we'll see. Wonderful defense for Westland. Don't know how much longer it can last. Or if maybe he has something he can pull out and start to really get some advantage. Another fastest, not fastest overall, but another personal fastest for Ken Huber. Also a personal fastest for Andrew McMurray, who just continues to find himself in the zone up there in third. James Foreman not leaving him alone, to be fair. 1:34.2. That's fast time for Foreman. That was actually faster than Andrew McMurray's. Oh, excuse me. McMurray's lap was not his, not a personal best there. It was a 1:34.6. That was 0.6 off of his best. Down the straight, Bell trying again on Nathan Westland. Can anything be done? It doesn't look like anything this time. Just a little bit further back, we have that battle that started from coming out of the pits. Sean Adkins slipped behind Tyler Langenberg. Wasn't able to do anything at that point, but now both up to temperature. Can Sean Adkins mount an attack on his fellow Audi in this race? Trying to keep it close, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to make anything happen into the most popular passing opportunity on the track here in turn 4, at least tonight. It looks like the weather is going to be pretty good. Now 1 hour into the race. We're going to take a few-minute break. Be right back with you, but keep this action right on screen. All right, we're back here to the end of the race, and I don't think that we should be expecting any more pit stops by any of these drivers. Everyone's made their stop. I don't think anyone was well off the strategy. Maybe a GT3 here or there that had an early incident that it didn't catch as needing to come into the pits, but I think everyone's pretty well sorted, so I think this order that we see is pretty indicative of what we'll actually have. And of course, right now, the big success story today has been Andrew McMurray. He's been starting to try to expand that lead to James Foreman behind. It hasn't been super consistent. You can see kind of gone up and down a little bit. Still safely ahead, never closer than 1.5 seconds. But then also looking further back, we have Sean Atkins. He's up 5 from where he didn't qualify. Nick Terrell, of course, didn't qualify. Up 4, still ahead of Paul Skip. Now extended that gap to 1.5 seconds. Of course, one of the larger disappointments we've had for this race, unfortunately, Aaron Claybaugh, who started so well, was one of the fastest in practice, one of the fastest in qualifying, and not just one, but a couple incidents, as well as Mauricio Parada in a similar kind of boat. Both drivers showing some real promise here today in their pace. Unfortunately, unable to turn that into some results. But important for some of the battles, I think, because, coming into this race, we don't have Jeff McDonald in this race, who is one of the hottest drivers in the GTDA field. But Claybaugh and McDonald were only separated by really just 14 points. Aaron Claybaugh was up on McDonald, so McDonald could have really taken advantage of a race like today. And Mauricio Parada doesn't have any active competitors he's next to. He, of course, did not start the season here. He started the season a little bit late, wasn't here until the Mugello race, missed a couple with Coda and Red Bull Ring, and at Hockenheim as well, so not able to take advantage of the 5 drop weeks, and was always going to be a little affected by that, but doing well in this latter half of the season, but an unfortunate result for him today. Ken Huber's keeping it close with Terry. This is as close as he's been since he got overtaken before the pit stops. And Huber will definitely not be taking any risks. He's got the championship locked. So on one hand, the points don't matter. He's not getting any more points for passing Terry. But on the other hand, it kind of doesn't matter because both of these guys, doesn't matter what happens from the rest of the season. Ken's got the championship on lock. He does no worry from behind. The closest A-class driver is 40 seconds back with Travis Bell. So get another race where the B-class drivers are doing well. We actually had kind of a mix-up of what we normally have last week, where the A-class drivers were all of the top. It was like the top 7 of 14 were A, and then the bottom 7 were B. But the B-class drivers really, in general, have been the more consistent finishers. Maybe not qualifiers every single time, but actually lately they've been some of the more consistent qualifiers too. But in finishing, it's usually been mostly B-class drivers and Ken Huber up at the front. Save for some guest appearances by some A-class drivers like Jeff McDonald, like we had. Sheldon Rosenbaum, who we don't have here today as well. Tyler Langenberg, but interesting to see that develop over the season. Of course, it'll be a bit of a different framework next season. Next season will be the GT3s, and it'll be 3 classes, at least as it is currently, provisionally going to be set up into a sort of gold, silver, bronze kind of deal. So that'll be how the drivers are sorted. And a shorter season than this 20 race long mega season that we've had here so far. We're down to just our 3rd to last race. So after we finish up here today, we're only going to have Le Mans and Watkins Glen to go, and those are going to be pretty tough tracks, I think, to finish out the season. Le Mans, one of the longest circuits on the calendar, of course. It should be the longest, because anything other than the Nordschleife, but one of the longest circuits in the world. And luckily, traffic won't be that big of an issue, but it'll be a difficult race for the drivers. And weather's still unknown for those 2 races. That'll be looked at after these two races. Of course, we didn't actually have any rain come down here today. It doesn't look like any rain's going to come in. That's fine. It's just about there's just a chance. It's better really to actually not know, to have some sort of omniscience about rain coming down. And and a collision for Paul Skip and Terry Kiger Jr. What? Oh, and Paul Skip trying to stay close with Paletti. He's not going to lose back. I don't think that he has like terminal damage or anything, but that was hard enough to be a 4X. Huge hit to possibly his safety points that he's going to pull home today, and all against, of course, he's just trying to keep up with Terrell, but Terry Kiger Jr., not even a driver that's being scored for points. It just seems like that was unfortunately like the worst way to waste kind of those incident points. Skip is going to get by into turn 1 at least, but what was about a second gap that he was trying to close down even more, now a 6-second lead for Nick Terrell, and that may be insurmountable at this point of the race. We've only got about 17 minutes to go, and the pace between the two for the most part has been very equal. And a whole 6 seconds, I think, is going to be a big ask. I know it's not the largest gap in the world. You can see them just up the track, but it's going to be a lot to ask, given that they're on the same pit strategy. And it does seem like Terrell's maybe in the better car as well. The Porsche has been the most popular pick, that's for sure. I mean, even if you look at the GTP stats, of the 17 races so far this season, the Porsche has won 15 of the 17. But Jay Smart is definitely going to be taking home a win here today unless something catastrophic happens, and he'll be making that another win for the Acura. But there's been one win for the Cadillac. That was Nick Terrell, I think, back at the Indy Road Course race, and one win for the Acura, which I'm not sure if that was one of Jay Smart's Acura outings. I think he did so last week with that, so that may have been what we saw last week, Jay in that Acura. But either way, we're going to see him here in that today. And he hasn't had a lot of screen time. We've mostly just seen him lapping some other battles that we've seen, but that's what happens when you win by too much. He's up by 21 seconds now from Nick Terrell. Really no stress for the end of this race. Just 15 minutes to go, and he just has to take it home. So another strong race for Jay Smart. Makes you wonder what had happened if he hadn't done some of the races in GT3, if he hadn't had some of the incidents that he's had. He really could have been a fascinating competitor for the championship. He's always been a competitor in the individual races, but a competitor on the championship long duel would have been really interesting. I do think that he has when you look at the safety points, it does seem like he embraced the safety points maybe a little bit less than some of the other drivers did, which already left him at a bit of a disadvantage. Because if you remember, and look right behind there, Travis Bell maybe making a move on Nathan Westland. The safety points do not drop. So the bottom 5 weeks drop as far as the race position score. But if you earn any safety points in those races, those stay. Those don't drop with that week. And those end up being really important. So showing up, that being there in every single race in the same class, really crucial. And Smart, of course, we didn't see him at Daytona, didn't see him at Willow Springs early. And then Mugello and Road America, so already kind of took himself out of it, and then missing out on a lot of safety points, not just in those races, but also some of the other ones as well, not earning any, and kind of put himself into a points hole. I would have loved to see what would have happened if we'd actually gotten a full season battle with him involved in there, because he, pace-wise, definitely threatens all of those guys, contending for that championship right now. Now, potentially those guys are driving a little bit more cautiously, knowing what's on the line. Not as much on the line for Jay Smart, but nonetheless, a very fast guy, and especially the qualifying results really show that, because there's no point to be cautious in qualifying. The incident points are not going to count toward your total, and he's still really been the class of the field for qualifying. He's got another pole today, which puts him at 8 again on the season, the largest amount. The next closest, Paul Skip, with 6. We'll take a look at that replay. I didn't get back to this, but this was that incident that Skip had with Terry. Good little whack. I don't think Terry had any idea that a second GTP was coming through. Surely a bit of a late commitment for Paul Skip there. But still, just wasn't seen, unfortunately, and one of those multi-class type battles or multi-class type incidents that happens, especially during battles. Both guys were involved in a close one. Huber and Cowger, Skip and Terrell, both really mired in their own thing that they were focusing on, just didn't really notice each other there. So, unfortunate incident. Hopefully it doesn't affect the points too much for Skip, but that might be enough to be a big deal. He's already probably losing, it's hard to calculate in my head with the drops, but he's already probably losing the lead by like a point through the positions. Or actually would be back to even. Excuse me. So only 2-point advantage for first. 49 for first, 47 for second. So that would bring him back to even if you ignore maybe drop weeks making things a little bit funky. There should be no drop weeks for these guys, even being second and third. Don't think. Hard to evaluate. But then the safety points is what it's going to come down to. So curious to see how that works. 12 minutes, under 12 minutes to go. Huber trying to get back that first place spot. Still 15 seconds ahead of Andrew McMurray. Andrew McMurray's now extended his lead to James Foreman by 7 seconds. What a great race that he's had. Unfortunately, nobody else for him to pass, so his charge through the field has effectively quelled, but moved up to second overall in the field for counted racers and first for that B class, which would be a great finish for him. And even more interesting because this actually may be his first race of the season. I'm actually not seeing him on the season list. Yeah, this may be his debut for the season. He's been here in E4A before, so not a stranger to the league. But a good amount of time off and already coming in here doing well. Fastest laps, you can see up there, a 1:21.413. That comes from Jay Smart, who will be earning another fastest lap for himself. He has had the fastest lap in 5 of the last 6 races. Paul Skip got him in Hockenheim, and we obviously saw Jay Smart crash early in Hockenheim and quit out of that race, so we didn't really get to see him try to flex that pace. He started on pole, though. But the really impressive run, 6 of the last 7, excuse me, for Jay Smart, running all the way back to Coda, where Nick Terrell had the fastest lap. And meanwhile in GTD-A, fastest lap so far is a 1:33.681. That comes from Terry Cowger Jr. Next closest is actually Andrew McMurray. Not in the A, but there's overall Andrew McMurray there at a 1:33.72. So he'll be having a fastest lap. He will dethrone Jack Lucas, who has had the fastest lap in each of the last 5 races for a B-class driver. A-class will be Ken Huber again, who we've seen get a number of fast laps coming towards the end of the season. A lot of the early part of the season he was getting pipped on those fastest laps, but really stacking up here at the end at Mugello, Road America, Silverstone, Coda, Red Bull Rig, Twin Rig, Spa, Barcelona, and then here today at Interlagos. Unless someone pits for some fresh tires here at the very end, I think that's probably going to be out of the question. So some strong pace for those guys today, and no shocker to again see all of our fastest laps there be in the top few positions. Terry with the fastest overall. Ken in the first of the counted spots. He's fastest for A, and then Andrew McMurray with the fastest for B there in third. Travis Bell staying close with Westland again. 9 minutes to go. This right now is a battle for 5th overall. Right now, Bell is probably safely in for second. I mean, Tyler Langenberg is not that far back, so he can't afford to have any sort of crash here to avoid losing that spot to Langenberg. But the podium does look like it is going to be Huber, Bell, Langenberg. Especially Huber and Langenberg. Not shy with the podiums. They get a lot of them. Right now, Langenberg is tied for second with Josh Doty and Sheldon Rosenbaum at 6 podiums on the season. But for Travis Bell, this would be just his second podium for the season, so good finish for him. He's up 1, so already qualified well, and capitalizing on that performance. That gap for Terrell and Skip now increased to 12 seconds, so that is definitely out of hand. That is not going to be a switch of positions there at any point soon. Skip is going to finish behind Nick Terrell and potentially may come out of this race losing his first place standing. It's hard to tell. I haven't noticed any incidents for Nick Terrell yet. So that would be beneficial to him. He could be on for a full 5 points, 0 incident points. This is not an easy track to do that. You can see right there, that corner is a good example of why it's difficult to not get any off tracks, because it's so tempting to push the track out wide there. Oh, and here's why that extra time was even lost. Paul Skip with another incident. This time clash with Jesse Coffey, although it's a bit of an awkward incident there. Probably just a loss of control, probably just a 2X on that one. A bit of a sticky car there, I think, but needed to probably get a little bit more through the corner before expanding out on that line. But that's why that gap went from 6 or 7 seconds now up to 12, and is out of hand for him. Both Acuras finishing in the top 2, and that includes Nick Terrell having to start from last. Although, of course, Ryan Javen we never saw take the start, so of course there's one spot that was pretty easily acquired for him, and Nicholas Paletti was not passed on track either, as Paletti had an early incident. Huber may not be trying to make a move here. At least if he is, it doesn't seem like he's able to get close enough to do anything. I mean, he's very close. He's close, but close enough to pass hasn't been. We're closing down almost to 5 minutes remaining. Time's going to be running out, although now this is his best opportunity so far, 1.5 tenths. Willie sent it up the inside, doesn't do it. Not even a little bit of a nose in there to try to scare Terry off the line. And he knows he's not scored for points. It doesn't really matter. And Huber has already been beat by a legend so far this season. I believe at Mugello, Jay Smart got the overall win. But given his I rating, Jay Smart was not allowed to be scored for the GTD class, so came in as a legend and did not score any points. But I believe he won that race on the overall. Fastest lap of the race for Tyler Langenberg. That is important. He knows what the situation is right now. Travis Bell is getting held up a little bit by Nathan Westland. If Langenberg can really find some late race pace here, he could maybe get up to the back of Travis Bell. He also has been doing plenty of his own defending from Sean Atkins, although that looks like that has cooled down a little bit, at least, down to 1.2, 1.3 seconds. It was closer than that before. Does Langenberg have anything in the tank to catch up to Travis Bell here? He's right there, quite visible. Jay Smart swings around him. Again, Jay Smart going to be cruising now to just an incredible win, almost to 30 seconds at this point. Of course, Nick Terrell also taking it a little bit easy himself probably here at the end, just trying not to earn any incidents. And giving Jay Smart an even more dominant lead. We've seen a lot of the battles for GTP come under a lot of pressure, a lot of fight over the last 5 or 6 races. This is unfortunately not one of them. This was one from start to flag for Jay Smart, provided the last couple laps are run cleanly, and a bit of a rare sight that we've had in the GTP class. Langenberg not seeming to make an impression on Travis Bell yet. Through Sector 4, Bell and Sector 5, Bell getting those advantages. Does look like it's going to be difficult, but through that braking zone, Langenberg a little bit faster. Again, Bell gets slowed down in the braking zone. He wasn't close enough to make a move on Westland, but was close enough to get held up just a little bit. This is as close as they've been, Langenberg and Bell. Right as I about swore it off, or wrote it off, this may actually be possible if there's enough of a mistake for Bell in front. Sean Atkins lurking back there as well. He's not under 1 second like Langenberg has now joined, though. 9 tenths, just under 0.98 seconds. Heading in the Ferradura. And should be, I think, 2 more laps as they come their way around. Right now, Jay Smart is not that far ahead of these guys. When he comes to the line, it still should be well over 1:20, so should be 2 more laps to go, which will be bad news for Westland or Bell. Good news for Langenberg here, trying to catch up to these guys. I think Bell's probably not going to be able to get Westland. I think if he had the pace at this point in the race, he probably would have tried at least an attempt at this point. I think he's just trying to hang on as he stays close with Weston, definitely evenly matched, but wishing he was on the other side of that. Huber maybe making a move on Cowger here. This is through into Ferradura. Yeah, I mean, if he wasn't, he was close. He must have had a really good run through to see the Interlagos, but if you're not ahead into Ferradura, it's just not going to happen. We haven't seen anybody even attempt going side by side through there. We've seen the closest we saw was Terrell and Paul Skip, and that really just happened because of some traffic, making things a little bit interesting. Close, 5/10 now between both these guys. So Bell has caught up to Westland, but Langenberg's caught up even more to Travis Bell. Can he take away that second place spot? This is the podium regardless, as long as they don't have any contact. But will Langenberg be able to swap second and third with Travis Bell here late? That was an opportunity there. Not close enough to make the pass, of course, but best passing zone. And he'll be hoping maybe he can get there by next lap. The traffic didn't seem to impact Travis Bell there too much. John Kelly, very respectful GTP driver. Look at that. Keeping plenty of space for Nathan Westland, not slowing him down. He's going to try to go around the outside. Yes, should be the fastest way to get by this group. Westland not losing too much time. Bell losing a little bit. Sub half second for both. Bell's going to be praising his lucky stars. He's going to at least have a bit of a draft from Westland in front if he can't get around. He at least has that. But Langenberg, he needs to nail Junsao here. This is the last big opportunity, and some traffic is going to affect Travis Bell. Goes a little bit wide. Langenberg, this is a prime opportunity. 1/10 between the two. This is going to be a drag race as they get ready to start the final lap. The white flag has been waved for Jay Smart, who's already through into turn 5. Langenberg takes the inside line. He's a little bit behind right now. Will he be able to make a deep dive? He's 10th back. He's making a deep dive into turn 1. That's Docena. Langenberg ahead. Will Bell be able to fight it back? No. Strong on the brakes for Langenberg. He broke later and harder. Still didn't get any unsettling instability from the car. If he can defend from Bell down this straight here, Redo Pasta, he should be able to maintain the second place spot. Bell goes to the inside. Later on the brakes for Langenberg, and he sweeps across the nose, cutting him off. And I think that Tyler Langenberg, last lap heroics, has sealed the second place spot. If he just keeps it close, we may have a drag race to the end. We'll keep our eye on it, but we want to make sure we cover the race as it finishes. Terry Cagger Jr. with a purple lap, followed by Ken Huber with a purple lap. So the guys actually are still improving times. 1:33.614. And Jay Smart has crossed the line. Excuse me for not catching it as he crossed. But Jay Smart as your victor here today. Another victory for him late in this season. One of the fastest guys we've had. Andrew McMurray with a win in the B class. And what a win for him. Starting in 10th, moves all the way up to 3rd place overall. Actually, it was 2nd place, excuse me. And huge charge that he had through the field. Ken Huber, meanwhile, keeping it close with Terry, but I think that Terry's going to be able to finish in front. Oh, and let's go back to Travis. But Travis Bell's trying to get Langenberg back as they drag down to the straight. Can Langenberg hold him off? He's going to surely hold the inside. He does, and come into the line. 0.065 seconds in for Tyler Langenberg for second for the A-class finish. Third, unfortunately, for Travis Bell, getting passed on the final lap. Heartbreak there late, but still a great finish. Second podium on the season for Travis Bell. And the race leaders still have not, for GTD, still have not come across the line. Nick Terrell and Paul Skip came across the second and third. Looks like Terry Cagger Jr. will be comfortably in the lead, and he will get the overall win. Won't be counted for any points, but showing his hand and a bit of a statement for drivers next season that he is not here to mess around. Nicholas Paletti comes across the line as well. Was just in front of Jay Smart coming across the line. And that is all of our drivers. So let us get the official results here. In GTP, Jay Smart, victor here today by 27 seconds. And this is win number 5. Second most wins in the class. Only second behind Paul Skip's 7 total wins. And that marks Jay Smart's 8th podium. So 5 wins with 8 podiums. Shows how often he dominates when he makes it to the end of the race. Nick Terrell comes across in second for his 12th podium. Paul Skip in third for his 14th podium, but maybe losing his championship lead. We'll see once these race results get calculated in. Nicholas Paletti came in fourth, unfortunately, after an early incident with John Kelly fifth and Ryan Jeevan not taking the start. Looking at the GTDs. GTD 1 overall by Terry Kiger Jr., 3/10 ahead of Ken Huber. Not a guy who's had a lot of competition so far this season, but had it here today. Ken Huber still the official winner for GTDA, win number 15 out of 18 races, and podium number 18 out of 18. And Jim McMurray comes across second overall for a first race on the season and an overall win, or a win for the GTDB class. Just ahead, a few seconds ahead of James Foreman, who gets podium number 14, and Jesse Coffey with podium number 8, a key result over Jack Lucas, who had that incident with Jay Smart earlier. Nathan Westland comes in 6th. Tyler Langenberg second for the A class for his podium number 7, with Travis Bell podium number 2. Sean Atkins in 9th, and Travis Rowe rounds out the top 10. Following them, Aaron Claybaugh, Tony Watson, Jack Lucas, Mauricio Parada, Greg Holland, and Dan Barnett, who we did not get to see start the race. All right, we have one driver at least in the booth. We're going to have Jay Smart here bring in our overall race leader. Jay, you got me in the booth here.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Big win for you today. We have seen you really have to scrap for some wins, whether it was fighting back from an early incident or, like you had at a Twin Ring where you and Paul Skip really dueling late. This one, maybe I wouldn't call it boring, but a little bit more straightforward affair, pole to flag victory. How did that go for you today?
Yeah, I think not that straightforward. Again, it was a race of fuel management, pretty much lifting and coasting every lap the whole race. Unfortunately, it seems like that's the name of the game with the GTPs. We don't really have enough fuel to get an easy one stop. But yeah, the track is slippery. The track limits are really difficult, and there's a lot of big curbs that can really throw you off if you're not careful. So not necessarily straightforward. It was definitely difficult to maintain focus and just concentrate for the whole race. In practice, I had tons of off tracks. I thought I'd probably get a drive through in the race, and then I managed to get only one until there was some incident when I was passing a GT3. I don't know who it was, but they kind of tracked out, swiped me, and then they went off track. So I got another 2x for that. So yeah, not necessarily straightforward, but good race.
And that, yeah, I was actually going to bring that up, was that not just you. I mean, it seemed like the entire field was doing a lot of exploring in practice, a lot of incidents, and it seemed, I mean, obviously you didn't have any big incidents other than the kind of the thing you just mentioned there. So able to get it dialed in through practice. Did the track just seem to get a little bit better, or did you just know what to avoid, especially on some of those infield turns?
Yeah, give me one second. Hey, sorry about that. I just switched mics.
No problem.
Yeah, I'd say it was definitely a matter of exploring and testing those limits, because there's a lot of speed on this track by utilizing all of it. If like tracking out, especially a turn 4, I think it is, that it's a pretty high speed corner. The track limit's really tricky there. So definitely a matter of just testing it out in practice and then kind of reeling it in during the race. Thankfully, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to, honestly, but thankfully I was able to just stay calm and not get really any. There was one, the one that I got was silly too. It's like, I think I just missed my braking point. And it was like a really slow understeering kind of thing. It's not like I was trying to push or anything like that. So just kind of a lapse in concentration. But yeah, just exploring in practice and then taking it easy in the race.
Yeah, you had pole number 8 today, win number 5, and podium number 8 as well. Next week, come into Le Mans, so about as opposite as you get. Bit of a white knuckler track here, and Le Mans you can kind of take a nap through half of the lap.
Yeah.
So what's the plan for that? And then do you have already maybe a GTP? I know you've been one to actually switch between a couple of the cars. Do you have one you're leaning towards for those long straights next week?
Honestly, I've really been liking the Acura. I don't know if it's the BOP or not, but it just rotates really well. And when you kind of get in the groove with it, it feels really good. It doesn't have the problem that the Porsche does, which is it locks up and then it just kind of turns into ice skates. And the Cadillac I just haven't driven in a while, so I'll probably stick with the Acura. I don't know how it'll do, but I like Le Mans. It's a good track and definitely a little bit easier to deal with traffic there. That was a big problem for Brazil tonight, was just navigating the traffic was probably the hardest part of the night.
Well, congratulations on this victory here. 5th victory out of the last 7 races, still on that hot streak. Wonderful showing out here tonight, and look forward to maybe hearing from you in the next couple of weeks.
Thanks.
Have a good night, Jay.
You too. Take it easy.
That was our race victor, Jay Smart. I'm going to bring in our GTD-A winner, Ken Huber here. Ken, you got me in the booth.
Hey, Zach. How's it going?
It's going good. As far as a race, to the rest of the drivers, to the scored drivers, it was I think a 30-second victory. But
I don't know about that, but no, Terry won that race. I feel a little sheepish sitting here in second, really, but it is what it is. The GTP traffic had some play in that too, but it is what it is. So.
Now, maybe this is revealing a little bit of your secrets. I don't know. You could, if you want to plead the 5th, but this was like the first race we saw where your pit stop was actually longer than like a good amount of some of the other guys. Was there an issue with the pit stop, or usually yours is always like 2 seconds shorter. I don't know how it is, but it always is.
I don't know how much slower was I? I didn't even
like
notice.
A couple of the Mercedes were able to do I think 2 seconds faster.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's just I needed that fuel. I only had maybe a half a gallon left when the race finished, so I needed exactly what I put in there. So good on them. I guess they were getting better mileage than I was.
It looked like a difficult track. I saw in practice, not just you, but pretty much every driver having lots of incidents. Obviously testing the limits, of course, of the circuit, but just spots where it just seemed like the car was losing control out of nowhere, especially on those infield turns. How did you get that dialed in for the race?
Yeah, no, to believe it or not, I didn't practice that much for the race, but I did practice a little bit in the rain, and I think the rain probably helped me out because it got me turning at least through those S's with the brake pedal, and that's something I probably wasn't doing before racing this track. So I was using the brake pedal to get through the S's, and I was actually faster in that section of the track, I think more than anybody, but I was struggling on the fast sections of the track, so that's where I was losing time.
Well, we're heading to the most classic, most famous endurance circuit of all time next week at Le Mans. One that lots of people have tons of experience on. A lot of people have done 24-hour races there. How do you see your chances next week at Le Mans?
I don't know, just like any other track. I mean, yeah, I've got my share of fun times at Le Mans. I always love racing that track just for historic reasons, as long as we have a good race. I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get rain tonight because I thought we were going to get some rain, and that was disappointing.
It definitely looked. There was the clouds looked scary. I don't know how it looked from the cockpit, but it did look like it was going to rain. But it looked like we were on the other side of that chance. But rain potentially might be involved next week.
I was watching it get darker too, and I was like, well, I better stay out. I looked at the radar before we went out on track during the race, and I didn't see anything. I'm like, okay, it's going to be a dry race. And then it got really dark, and then I was like, well, I need to stay out as long as I can. So, but it never came. So, oh well.
Might get some rain in the next 2 races, though, so keep an eye out for it. We'll have an announcement for that. But, again, congratulations. Another victory here today here at Interlagos, and I'm sure we'll hear from you again in the next couple weeks and definitely talk to you. You've already got that championship locked up, so final week we'll get to talk to you about that whole championship story here in this season. So congratulations on that and this whole season so far.
All right. Thank you, Zach. You have a good night and great job as usual in the booth. You're in here by yourself. I want to give Aaron a shout out. He was in with you last week, but you always do great by yourself. And then Aaron in there, it was fun listening to you two guys during that race. So again, my hat's off to all the work you do doing that. I know what's involved. So, yep. Good job on that. That's like winning too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's very, very appreciated here. You have a good night, Ken.
Yeah, you too.
I'm going to bring in Andrew McMurray here, Victor here today for GTDB. Andrew, you got me in the booth.
Hey, how you doing?
Man, what an exciting race you had here today. Qualified in 10th overall, and even at the start of the race, you didn't pick up, like usually when a driver picks up a bunch of positions through the race, a lot of it happens in the first few minutes. A lot of that didn't happen in the first few minutes outside of the two incidents from Parada and Claybaugh. You had actually the fastest pace of all of the GT3s, especially in the middle of that race around the 40-minute mark. You know, what was it the track state? Was it the car state? What was coming to you there?
It was probably my lack of driving, to be honest with you. I haven't done a lot of sim racing for a little while, and I just happened to have some free time tonight to jump in. I think I'm kind of a part-timer for a couple seasons. I think I ran Interlagos a couple of seasons ago, and I managed to get a second. So I think the track works well for me. It took me a little bit of time to kind of get my feet wet. I only took about maybe 10, 15 minutes of practice, and just went straight to qualifying. But yeah, guys, kind of just a small field. I think that probably helped out too. And then up with good run. Pace came in and just kept rolling with it.
Yeah, it looked like a really clean race as well. It looked like the practice was really difficult. Qualifying seemed difficult as well. Did you kind of experience those same difficulties, like getting up to speed with this circuit? It seemed like the infield was really giving people some trouble.
I was definitely struggling in the second sector. First and third sectors came together for me during the race. I couldn't get it in qualifying. I was still kind of figuring out in the beginning. Actually, following the other cars at the beginning of the race helped me kind of get my pace in, and then I could just see that I could run with them. That actually gave me more confidence as I went through, and I just kind of kept layering on. There were some good mid-race battles there in the middle, and then there was a couple of incidents I think that kind of maybe bumped up my position there a bit.
Yeah, I think the defensive move you had to maintain your position, I think it was on Travis Bell at the time in the BMW through turn one, where you let him pass. He was on your inside. You let him pass on the inside, but instead of staying on the outside, you switched back, kept to that spot. I think that was probably the move of the race, at least in my opinion, from up here.
Oh, right on. Well, yeah, you can kind of get away with that there. The track's wide. It does have grip for two lanes, and you got to deal with the driver for making the space in the ring too.
Well, congratulations on that victory there. Climbed up a bunch of spots, most positions gained in the race, as well as, of course, getting that second overall and first for the B-class runners.
Yeah, appreciate it. Just want to say thanks to everyone who organizes around the series. It's cool and fun to race with everybody. Everyone races really clean, really a lot of respect, and I just want to put that out there on the tape.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate it. And appreciate you for driving, doing a great job out there. Are we going to see you next week at Le Mans?
We'll see. Depends on the schedule. I'd love to try it out.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll see you there, and we'll see you get another victory here late in this season. And you have a good night there, Andrew.
Thanks, Zach. Take care, man.
That was your victor on debut, Andrew McMurray. Again, if you are here for the GTD and GT Peak action that we just saw, you will have that next week at the exact same time, and that'll be at Le Mans, so the most famous endurance circuit in history that we'll have. And then following that up, the next week will be the season finale at Watkins Glen, where this whole ordeal finally gets wrapped up. We'll see who wins that GTP class once and for all. Thank you, everyone.